Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a book recommendation tag. Okay, so basically I got this tag from Steph, Bohrer. I am so bad at names, it's not even funny. Like, I'm actually atrocious. Anyway, and I saw that video she did, I think she did it at like the start of this year, and I thought I wanted to do that too, mainly because I was going to do a book recommendation video on like a certain genre, but I haven't, like, I have a lot of books from that genre in my TBR, so I haven't actually got around to reading all of them. I've got done like most of them, but I have like 2 books left that I really want to read before I make that video, so that will be coming soon. The next video is probably going to be another monthly wrap up, I'm going to say. It's currently it's currently the 28th of April, so I'm at the end of the month basically, so I've pretty much read everything I'm going to read. Yeah, so I'm just gonna get right in with those questions. So the very first question is, a book you tell people is your favorite. For the longest time, I basically said The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern was my favorite book. Basically, if you don't know what it's about 2 magicians in sort of a competition, and it's set in like Victorian England, like behind like this inner circus basically, and it's written almost like a Tim Burton movie. It is just such a, I don't know how to describe it. It's just such a like whimsical, fantastic world, and I just loved it so much. But the last time I read that book, when I was like 14, and I'm 22 now, which is a bit of a long time. So my new answer for this question is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. You probably already know what it's about, so I'm not going to explain it. But yeah, that is probably my most recent favorite book. I read it the start of 2021, which, yeah, wait, what year are we in? Yeah, start of year 2021. That was when I first read it. And I basically still think about it. I own 3 copies of that book. So yes, I love it very much. So the second question is, a book that is your guilty pleasure. I'm going to say my guilty pleasure book. That's a hard question because I'm not really guilty about it, but I would say probably A Court of Thorns and Roses. Like the Akatar trilogy, I know it gets a lot of hate. Some of it some of it deserves the hate. Some things I think they're pulling at straws. I'm not going to get into reasons why, but yeah, some of the things I definitely think it does deserve the hate it gets, but then some other things I'm like, oh, come on, get over it. But yeah, I would say A Court of Thorns and Roses is probably my guilty pleasure series. It's just like a reality show, that book. This is a controversial question, and it was a book that everyone loves but you hate. And for me, that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Oh, that book was just, I wanted to love that book so much because I loved the premise. Basically, the premise is like this girl, she gets cursed with an immortal life, but everyone forgets who she is. Like, as soon as they turn away from her, they'll forget their conversation, so she can never be remembered. And I thought that was such a beautiful concept, like such an amazing concept, but it just was not executed in the way I would have liked. I found like the book could have been like 100 pages shorter than what it was, and also I just felt Addie, the character Addie was fine, But I felt like the side characters, like the main villain and the other love interest, I don't want to spoil it. I feel like they could have been developed a bit more, and I was really wanting those. Like I had a lot of questions, and I never got those questions answered. Basically, another thing is that I think this is like the second book I've read by V.E. Schwab, and I just don't think I always like interested in her books was like she comes up with like amazing concepts, but I don't think I really like her writing style that much. So I don't think V. Schwab's like an author I'm going to continue to try to read just because I've DNF'd like two of her books already, and like I DNF'd A Darker Shade of Magic, and I've finished The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, but I hated it. I just kind of thought Addie LaRue was just boring. I'm sorry. I know a lot. It's close. Like a lot of people love it, and I think maybe I will reread because that happens to me a lot. I read something and I don't like it, and then I reread it again and I do like it. So it could be a situation like that. I'm just not in the headspace to reread that book, honestly, because it's so big as well. Like I just don't want to. Just want to put myself through that. So the fourth question is a book you read the fastest? That is a hard question because it sometimes takes me years to read a book. That was an exaggeration. But for the most part, I would say I am a quick reader if I really like the book. If I really enjoy it, it will probably take me 2 days. And the book I think I have read the fastest. I'm pretty sure when I'm trying to think of it. What book was it? I think it was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I think when that book dropped, I was just so excited to read it, and I just literally like flew through it. Yeah, I'm gonna say A Court of Mist and Fury. It probably took me 2 days, but then like I could read like I have a book like When the Coffee Gets Cold, and I feel like I could read that in a day if I liked it. It really depends if I like the book or not, and that determines how fast I read. And I really loved A Court of Mist and Fury, so I just flew through it. So my answer is A Court of Mist and Fury, but I feel like I have read things quicker, but I just can't remember. This one's an interesting question, and it's a book that deserves more hype. Let me look. I'm looking at my bookshelf right now. Oh, I've got the answer. Basically, the author Roshani Chusky, I'm so sorry if I mispronounce her name, but she's the author of The Gilded Wolves, the Gilded Wolves trilogy, and like Star Touch Queen and The Crown of Wishes. I just think they are the most, all of her books are so beautifully written, and I feel like they're so underappreciated. I love all those books so much. And also, I will say I didn't really like the Gilded Wolves trilogy. I haven't even read the last book. I feel like I read them too. I need to read them all together, but I read them like too far apart just because there was the long release times. But I recently read the last tale of the Flower Bride by her. Oh my gosh, it reminds me of like why I like to read Roshani Chusky's books. It was just such, like she has such, I don't know how to describe it. She has such a delicious writing style, and I just adore it. Like I like envy her writing style. Like I wish I could write like that. So yeah, any Roshani Chusky's books I definitely think are so underrated and deserve more love. Sorry, another book I just looked at on my shelf, The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. That duology needs so much more love. I thought the romance crew on TikTok would get behind that book, but so far they haven't. It was popular for a bit on like BookTube when it first came out, but like yeah, it sort of died off, the hype. But I think it deserves more hype. It is again a beautiful, beautiful duology, and yeah, I really recommend it. Also, there's a webtoon of it as well on Webtoon, so if you do want a new way to consume the book, you can go on Webtoon. But Renee Ahdieh has an amazing writing style as well. and definitely deserves to be written in novel, read in novel form. So the sixth question is a book that is becoming a movie slash TV show. What is becoming a book slash TV show? Oh, apparently Emily Henry's books are going to be made into a movie. I think Beach Read's going to be made into a movie. I need Beach Read so bad. Basically, Beach Read is like a little enemies to lovers, about two authors, and they're trying to like write their next novel. It's a really good book. There's a lot more to it than that, but it's fantastic. So I am excited for that if that ever becomes. Oh, I can't get it back in my bookshelf. If that ever becomes a movie, I'm sure it is. I know the People We Meet on Vacation is becoming a movie, and I know Beach Read is. I actually think all of our Emily Henry's books are becoming movies at some stage. Even Happy Place, which I haven't even read yet. That's exciting. Very exciting. Next question is a book you've reread the most. I feel like I'm a broken record, but I'm gonna have to say I've probably reread A Court of Mist and Fury probably about 15 times. It is the book I go to when I'm sad. Also, following that, Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. I feel like I reread the Infernal Devices series probably like once a year, but I do go back and read. Clockwork Princess a lot, mainly because of the epilogue. Yeah. I am a sadist. Next one is a book from a genre you don't typically read. I'm trying to think of a book that I've read that I don't typically. I'm gonna say literary fiction. Actually, sorry, classics. I don't usually read classics, but I will say my favorite sort of classic is The Awakening by Kate Chopin. I read that book for Year 12 English, and I just remember I had so much fun analysing it. I really loved the story of it. Basically, it's about this woman living, what is it? She's living in like New Orleans, and she's basically she's very disillusioned with her life, sort of, and she's unhappy in her marriage. And that's sort of the story, but it is a really good book about sort of this woman. It has a very sad ending, but it is about a woman finding her power, and I appreciate that. So The Awakening by Kate Chopin is basically my answer for this question. Mine is a book that deserves all the hype it gets. Let me think. Oh, what's a good question? What's a good answer for this? I'm trying to do something I haven't said before. Let me look. Let me look at my books. Anything? Oh, I'm trying to think. I don't know the answer. Probably, I'm gonna say maybe Six of Crows. Six of Crows definitely deserves the hype it gets. And I don't want to say because it's a bit of a cop-out answer because it's already like made into a show. But yeah, Six of Crows was just insane to read. It was just such an insane experience. So I'm going to say Six of Crows does deserve all the hype it gets. Let me think what else. The Secret History definitely does. It's sort of the godfather of dark academia. Yeah, I'm trying to think because I feel like I don't want to say series where Cruel Prince trilogy deserves the hype. Yeah, I'm looking at my bookshelf, so if I'm looking off at the side, that's probably why. And also, I feel like I haven't read many popular, like I've read like the most popular series, so I don't really want to say those books, but that's why they're overhyped. I'm gonna leave it at that because I genuinely can't think of an answer. So Six of Crows and Cruel Prince and The Secret History are my answers. I'm sorry I couldn't really go into depth on that question as much as I would like to. So this is a good question. So a book you usually recommend when asked to give a recommendation. This is actually a really... Oh, sorry, my My light just fell. Oh, I hope that's okay. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so a book you usually recommend. I feel like I have very different answers for each genre. If it's someone, I will say, if it's someone that doesn't usually read, I find myself often recommending Daisy Jones and the Six. I just think it is a really good book to get people into reading because I feel like the format of it is very engaging and keeps, because it's like written in like a documentary transcript sort of style. So it keeps the reader's attention very well. Also, I love like the characters are really interesting. The story is good. For those who don't know, if you're living under a rock, Daisy Jones is about like this fictional band set in the 70s, I think. And basically, it goes into like why the band broke up. And it's written through a documentary transcript, basically. I think that's what it is, or an interview. I can't. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. I just watched a show, so I'm like, I just finished the show, so I was a bit like, yeah, I don't know. Is it? Oh, sorry, I mutter so much. Yeah, I think it is an interview. My bad. And so do find that format very engaging for readers, and it's good, and it's a good one for people who don't usually read because it's such a unique writing style. So I'm going to say Daisy Jones and the Six for like people who haven't read, like often read. But I guess I do have different genres as well. Like if someone like wants to read a romance book, I will often recommend Emily Henry because her stories are a bit more heartfelt and they're definitely like very well written. So I don't like recommending romance books when they're not well written because I don't know, I just don't want people to judge me. But and as for a fantasy book, I will say have been recommending Ava Reid's books like The Wolf and the Woodsman and Juniper and Thorn a lot for people who want to read a fantasy book. Yeah, so those are my those are my recommendations. A book that has your favorite characters in it. I'm going to say probably, I don't know, it's more of a series, a very long series, and it's the Shadowhunter Chronicles. There's probably like 15 to 20 books in that series, but I will say I love most of the characters in there. Like it's got all my favorites. It's got Will Herondale, James Herondale, Jace Herondale. It's got all the Herondales, all the Lightwoods. Yeah, the Shadowhunter Chronicles is probably like my Harry Potter, if that makes sense. Like I grew up with those books. I do like Harry Potter though. But yeah, Shadowhunter Chronicles, it just has more, and also I feel like Shadowhunter Chronicles just feels real because it's set in our world, so like the characters feel like they could be real people that live among us. Yeah, so Shadowhunter Chronicles probably has my favorite characters. I will say Nesta from A Court of Silver Flames and like the ACOTAR trilogy. She is definitely one of my favorites. She's probably my very favorite female character. I relate to her a lot in a weird way. Obviously, I'm not as mean as she is. Maybe I am, but I do like Nesta a lot, and I like her story. So, A Court of Silver Flames and The Shadowhunter Chronicles. The 12th question is a book you wish you could live in. And I feel like everyone's going to say Harry Potter, but I'm going to say Harry Potter just because I feel like it is the safest fantasy world to live in. And it just gives me cozy vibes. Which not a lot of, like I'd only want to live in a fantasy world. And also, if I live in Harry Potter, I can still go to the Muggle world. You know, like I could still go to the Louvre if I wanted to. I could still travel the world. But I can't really do that if I'm in a fantasy world. Like, all of the stuff I love is gone. But I'll still be in a fantasy world. It's hard. Either, yeah, Hogwarts, I'd love to be in. Or let me think. I'd love to be in a world where romance books are, like, real. Like, I'd love to be in a romance book universe as well. Not a mafia romance universe. Maybe, like, actually, I don't want to be in Magnolia Parks. But maybe, like, the fine print. I'd love to be in that little romance world. And I've got those Formula One drivers in that world as well. Yeah, so I'd be, if I was wanted to be in a romance book universe, I'd be in The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, and Hogwarts as well. A book you thought you would hate but ended up loving. That is a really hard question because I go into books assuming I'm going to love them all. I never read books I'm like unsure about loving. So the answer to that question is Frankenstein. By Mary Shelley. Basically, I had to read that book for uni and I just remember really dreading it. You know, when you have to read a book for school, it's always like, it's such a chore. And I just remember I was like, I already know the story, like, do I have to read it? And then I like read it and it just was not what I expected it to be, the actual story. And I think that happens a lot when people read classics, like, because when you go into a classic, you sort of assume you know the story just because like it's been referenced hundreds of times in like movies, like other books as well. So when you assume you already know it, but it actually, you can see why it's been referenced so much, and you can see that that author has just done it better than anyone else like after that. Yeah, so it was a real treat to read, and I say that's like a pretty good answer because I think that's like why classics are so well loved as well. Like they are the reason we have a lot of writing techniques now. Yeah, so I'm going to say Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. That made you cry. I remember so vividly being on the beach and reading All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, which is basically set in World War II, much like I don't know why I read books set in World War II, because they just make, I don't know why, those storylines just always make me cry. And I think because it was so recent, like it's still so recent. Same thing with The Book Thief, like those books always make me bawl. I'm usually pretty good, like I don't usually cry in books. But yeah, All the Light We Cannot See, The Book Thief, I did cry in Clockwork Princess. But yeah, all of those books have made me cry. It made me sob. But anything else, like I don't really cry over character death. And partly because I do sort of spoil myself when I read books, is that sometimes I like skim the pages and I go like to the end of the book just to a random page, and oftentimes I get spoiled. And so I feel like it ruins the emotional impact and therefore I cannot cry. But yeah, some books I manage to get away with reading without skipping forward. And I'm genuinely like, what? Oh my god. Yeah. So it's not often I cry in books just because a lot of the time I spoil myself. But when I do, yeah. I don't really cry, I just sort of shed a few tears. And I'm sad about it, but I'm not like sobbing like some people are. Okay, last question is a book you wish you could read for the first time. Wow, I think I'd probably actually love to read The Secret History again. What a wrap up. The Secret History again for the first time. I just remember I wish like I annotated it as I was reading it. I think that would have made it a bit more impactful, and I feel like I would have been catching on to things a lot quicker. But yeah, The Secret History I'd love to read again. I'd love to read like the plot twists in that, like the twists and turns in that book all over again. It was just a real treat, and it was like nothing I ever read before when I first read it. Thank you so much for watching. I feel like I flew through that tag and I was talking really fast, and I apologize for that. I swear every time I do an outro, I'm apologizing. I shouldn't do that. I'm not apologizing. You just have to sit and listen to me. But yes, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a little thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And if you like this sort of content, please subscribe as well. I will appreciate it so much. And also, I just want to say a huge thank you to all my new subscribers as well. Yeah, thank you so much. I love you all. Thanks. Bye.